spoilers ahead for the first 34 episodes, probably, right? No secrets here.
Hello and welcome to Professional Questers, our debut episode. I'm Chris, and I love tabletop role-playing games. Even more than that, though, I love hearing about the characters in those games, so I decided to interview people in the TTRPG world about their beloved characters. For this very first episode, we have the lovely players of the Rainbow Dice Club, a fellow podcast that I am quite the fan of myself. So if you guys would like to introduce yourselves and who you play, that would be lovely, and talk a little bit about your podcast.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dusty. My pronouns are they, she, and I play Ivy Nightbreeze Tinkerfey, whose pronouns are she, her.
Hi, I'm Arianna. My pronouns are she, her, and I play Elara Spinelspark, whose pronouns are also she, her.
And hello, my name is Wayra. My pronouns are she, they, and I play Varys, whose pronouns are he, they.
And they are amazing. Just, side note.
Thanks.
If you want to talk a little bit about Rainbow Dice Club, that would be cool too.
We are an all-queer, narrative-driven, actual play D&D, really homebrew podcast. And we're doing this new really cool thing now where us three players are also your three game masters. So once you get to like episode 31, you will see us start to swap kind of mid-episode who is GMing and running the game. And it's really cool and it's really fun.
It's really cool. It kind of blew my mind at first.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
We were wondering how people were thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was very curious as to how it was going to work. And then you guys started and I was like, okay, it's clicking with me now.
We have really good table chemistry and we've gotten thanks. We've gotten really good at just kind of going with the flow and someone picking up as you get further into the episodes. It's kind of cool because with like 31 you get to like listen to us find our footing as we're going to try this thing out and see if it works. And we're at I think we're on episode at least 52 now that I'm editing. And we found our footing and it's really cool. And I don't know if we'll go back to regular D&D ever. So
it's kind of ruined regular D&D for me, actually.
It really has. Really has.
Just a little. I still enjoy it. It's just not as I just don't think it's as fun. Plus, your poor DM, your forever DMs in your group, they don't have to be a forever DM anymore.
Mm-hmm. So. That's true. All right, so we're going to start with the basics. Everyone give me a physical description of your character and go over class and level or wherever you are right now. And then we'll get further into things.
So Ivy is a Eladrin. She mainly presents as Winter. So she's got light blue skin, dark black blue hair. She's plus size, so she's fuller figured. She's 5 feet 4 inches. Which is funny because it's something that I make all of my characters either my height or my partner's height. So they're all either short or they're all either really tall. There's no in between. She is a level 6 druid, and her subclass is Circle of the Dead, which is completely homebrewed.
There's that homebrew content coming in strong.
Oh yeah, it is. Everything about her basically is homebrewed. Mm-hmm. To her background, to her subclass.
Love it.
Elara is a half-elf artificer. She is taller than everyone thinks. I'm about to, I think, really dash everyone's hopes and dreams right now. Because she's actually 5'11", and I think everyone thinks that she's like Ivy's height, honestly.
Yeah.
But no, she is tall. She's a tall half elf. And she has red, kind of messy, wavy hair up to her chin-ish. And big green eyes with freckles. And the most noticeable thing about her is probably her oversized green jacket that has 12 pockets that you can see. I won't tell you how many you can't see. And She also has, yeah, it is a lot. And living in her pockets are some of her mechanized creatures that she creates. And her subclass is also homebrewed. It's called Master of Many. And she gets to do some really cool stuff. Because I didn't like any of the picks for Artificer for subclass. And I was like, I'm just going to make my own. And we did.
Nice.
And it's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about Wayra and Varys?
Heck yeah. Varys is... Oh god, why did I blank on his class? Varys is a half elf, half orc barbarian. He stands about at 6'7" now, I believe, where we are.
Wow.
He started out 6'5". Had a bit of a growth spurt though. He uses he/they pronouns. It's kind of like like a more medium build, pale gray skin, long, wavy, pastel pink hair, red eyes, and kind of more androgynous features with a slight twinge towards masculine. Tiny little tusks. It seems like he leans more towards the elven lineage than he does the orc. And he's got a scar on the left side of his face from their battle with Kalian. Right shoulder from their battle with a plant. And a couple of other interesting scars that they've accumulated along the way.
Yeah. Listen and you'll find out what those scars are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So one of the things that tends to drive characters, well, literally the word for it is motivations. Motivations and goals are the things that drive characters. So what are your character's motivations and goals? You can do specifically or in a broad sense. Are they affected by fears or hopes or dreams?
So Ivy, so I forgot to mention that Ivy also has a little purple pseudo dragon named Bia. Bia is also homebrewed in the sense that her elbows actually deal psionic damage.
I laughed so hard when I first heard that.
It is so funny because it is one of those things that just kind of came up organically. It wasn't something that I had figured out prior. We just decided that this little ball of fury needed to deal some actual damage. So Bia is definitely one of Ivy's motivators. So Ivy grew up in the Sealy Court in the Fae, which is also completely homebrewed. The Fae and the Sealy Court, and most everything in the Feywild is not like true D&D Feywild. It is just an amalgamation of things I thought were pretty fucking cool. So Ivy grew up on the courts, so she is like essentially what we would think of as like a duchess. She had one friend who ended up being her girlfriend, who then died. So Ivy was alone for a long time, as alone as you can be when you're surrounded by courts proceedings and all that kind of stuff. So I think one of her motivators is, the dead girlfriend trope. And she is... I fridged my gaze straight away. I don't know what to tell you. And she is a bitch, and I love her so much. She's such a sassy bitch.
She's snotty.
That was a bad time to take a sip of water.
Welcome to my world. I do a spit take at least once a recording.
Mm-hmm.
At least.
It is so funny to play her because I say stuff that I would never think of in real life. I just go into a fugue state. I dissociate. And all of a sudden I'm saying these wild ass things. I'm like, where is this coming from? What's happening right now?
Nobody knows.
I think there was one point where I said, as Ivy, I will shank you. Mm-hmm. Never said that before in my entire life. I don't know why she said that. That's just something she
remember. I remember you saying that.
Did she say it to her mother?
She did. She said it to her mother.
She did. To Vassell.
Listen.
I'm obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
Not with your priorities, but your language choices.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Ivy at this point is a real person and she lives inside of me and she comes out like 4 times a week. So
I genuinely feel the same though. I feel like our characters possess us.
I don't think everybody really knows much about Elara's motivations yet, and about a lot of her backstory. So she is a scientist, and she came to the town of Dragon's Nest to find gems that she could use to power her robotic emotional support animal. And she is preparing to go to this like really big science symposium in the capital city where she's going to present and try to kind of get like funding for her project, which is mechanized support animals, essentially, that can, do things that regular animals can't do to kind of like help people more.
Which, like, how awesome.
Yeah. And then she met this group of people, weirdos, and even though I think Elara is the weirdest one, and now she's in the Feywild, and it is
giving
a
away
lot.
her full legal name.
Giving away her full legal name and getting into a lot of trouble because she doesn't know when to stop talking. This is all a very new experience for her. She's not an adventurer. She's not a fighter. She has never had any like really interesting things happen to her before, and she went through a portal, which by the way in our world portals are non-existent or something, until we went through one, and she is just like, what is happening? And so right now her motivation is to stay alive. That is her motivation right now.
Her next
and to keep her friends alive.
Inventing duct tape.
What did you say?
So her next motivation should be inventing duct tape.
Duct tape and keeping Varys and Ivy alive. But yes. Mostly Varys at this point, I think.
Hey.
In time.
It's definitely a job.
Jeez. I think Varys's motivations are probably a lot more fluid than most, I think. Their main motivation is to just run. They're just running. Mm-hmm. I think they're afraid. And of whatever it is they're running from catching up. And that's it. They don't really care where they go, who they meet, what they do, as long as they are not caught up with. So,
and that's valid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is like, it's such a simple motivation, but it is so valid and I think understandable, because there are so many of us who I don't know if I can speak for everybody, but I feel like there are so many people that I know who wish they could run from all of the crap in their lives, you know?
Oh my God, absolutely. I think I say almost on a daily basis at this point that I wish I could just get a hippie van and, drive around and never interact with society again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that his motivations are changing now at the point that we are in the story. To what they look like now, I'm not entirely sure yet. They're not fully formed, but I think that maybe he's becoming more than just someone who's running away from their problems.
Yeah, I know from where I am, which I'm about 2 episodes behind. I'm saving it for a road trip. I've been able to notice, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but like I've kind of noticed gears turning in Varys's head as, Elara talks to him and Ivy talks to him. And they're just
absolutely.
Like, come on, dude.
There's a very scary thing about realizing that you now have something that you're scared to lose. and also knowing that you are probably going to eventually have to run again. It's a hard balance to work with.
I have a character who is experiencing something similar to that sort of realization. So it's definitely an interesting spot to be in, and it brings out a lot of the. Tell me if you agree with me, but it brings out a lot of the things in the character that you didn't think about before.
Oh my god, yeah. I think I'm always, after every session, I have to reassess exactly where he is in his mindset, because something something that happens changes what he previously thought was what he was doing or how he was thinking. They're always challenging his way of thinking, which I think is one of the things he likes about them.
I think it's been my favorite part of us playing together is I think I have such a clear idea of what's going to happen, and also like where Elara is going, and then something happens that's completely unexpected, right? Which is the nature of like these kind of games, I think. But like not necessarily even story-wise, but like between the three characters, that makes me sit back and go, okay, wait, now I have to reevaluate, which is it's just really interesting. I think how much we get into these characters and want to like represent their true thoughts and feelings and who they are, you know?
For real. They really do come alive, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I know we have briefly touched on their personalities, but I think one fun thing for me about building characters is deciding like what are their little quirks and mannerisms, or like what are their intentional flaws. Is there something for each of you that you wanted to put into your character that you knew was, for lack of a better word, a flaw, or like a hiccup that would make the character more fun to play, or just like intriguing to you guys?
I mean, do I have to say it? Ivy's a bitch.
I thought you were going to say she's a lesbian.
That's
When you said, do I have to say it? I was like, that's the thing you usually say when you say that. I don't know if you know this, but
Ivy is so fucking funny to me.
she's so funny to
Because
me too.
she is so good at finding every opportune moment to razz somebody. She, for lack of a better like way to put it, she razzed the president of a guild, like of this whole science.
She roused
was
the
like,
founder of the science
the president.
guilds. Right.
She did do
For the love of God.
she like she went, oh, your authority, and then spit in his face. Like,
Yeah.
She's
there's
feisty.
there's a moment coming up that I'm not going to give away, but it is so funny because it's about Varys. And Varys is like kind of upset about something, and she exacerbates the situation to the point where he like
I know.
She makes him embarrassed.
she makes him so embarrassed, and she just keeps going because she personally thinks it's hysterical. And they've really developed this like brother-sister relationship to the point where she will like I feel like any other person says the half the shit she says to Varys, they're dead. But it's just but Ivy gets carte blanche because she's Ivy.
It's so great. Their dynamic is literally I just listened to an episode where at the end I was like, I love Varys and Ivy, so I could sit and just listen to them have a scene together for hours. Like I'm just like this. Like I'm just hand under the chin, eyes wide. Give me all of it. So
And then you've got Elara and Ivy's relationship where Elara will literally look at her and be like, hey, you're a bitch.
yeah,
and Ivy's
no,
just
she
like,
doesn't
I
say
know.
that. She doesn't. Elara doesn't curse. Okay,
No, she doesn't.
I think she's cursed once.
What does she call Ivy?
Snotty.
Snippy? Snotty.
You're snotty. You're being kind of snotty.
She's like, I know.
Elara, one of Elara's flaws is I think that she word vomits to the detriment of herself and others sometimes. She definitely gets herself into trouble in that way, and she's a really bad, like really, really, really bad liar. But she is not like opposed to lying, but she does it very badly. And I've also, something that like I didn't think was going to happen, but I've made her kind of unable to pick up on, like, I don't know, what would you guys call it? Like, what would
social cues.
yeah, like she has
Sarcasm.
Sarcasm. So like she can be sarcastic sometimes, but like if people are not speaking like very directly, it just goes right over her head, and it's become this really cool, fun, really hysterical joke where like I will say things that I know are like innuendos, and I just get to play really dumb, and I get to watch like Varys and Ivy be like, "Are you kidding me?" And she's just like, "What? Like, I don't. What did I do? Did I say something again?" And it's just been really fun to play that up.
Love that. I relate way too hard to all of that.
Jeez, character flaws. There's so many.
Which one to pick?
So which one to pick? Okay. I think Varys is also real, despite being somebody who, is good at reading, like is good at lying and deceiving people. He finds it very hard to figure out if someone's lying to them. So I guess reading into people is also a flaw for him. He picks up on sarcasm sometimes. Sometimes. Not all the time. But he can't tell if somebody is like, manipulating him or lying to him or going to backstab him or things like that.
It's made for a person who is very hard to come to trust people, right?
Oh my god, absolutely.
Yeah,
he's very untrusting. A little bit selfish, I think. A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he thinks he thinks too logically sometimes. That's what I think his flaws are. Oh, also he puts himself in front of others and gets hurt all the time.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
How can I forget? Yeah, there is that.
There's that too. That's a big flaw.
Really big one. Yep.
Yep. He's overcorrecting to the point of self-harm. So.
Yeah, and his party members are getting on his back about that.
Not about that shit.
Yeah. Not about that shit.
Yeah. Nope.
So let's talk about like the inspiration behind these characters. What was the first thing that came to mind when you decided to make your character? Was there like a word or a concept that you used to drive the whole creation process?
This is a fun question to answer, honestly.
So the original concept of Ivy was actually a completely different character. When we were first doing like auditions and interviews and stuff, I was playing a blood hunter. And when the party started forming, I realized that the character that I had just wasn't going to fit, right? I love blood hunters. I want to play one in the future so bad for the show. But it wasn't going to be this character. And so the character, her backstory is basically Ivy's backstory, just more fleshed out. Her name was Lexi. And I basically, at like 3 a.m., decided I'm going to play a druid.
I remember this so vividly.
Looked at all of the backgrounds and went, I hate all of these backgrounds. So I then thought, what would be the coolest thing to shift into? And I love bones. I think bones are so cool. I love the way they move. I love the way they look. So I went, bones. And then I went, how can I make this dramatic? As for her personality, I just think that playing bitchy characters with a heart of gold are so fun. Like, yeah, I just think they're fun. I think the vulnerability of those types of characters can be so delicious that when you finally get to like that center, or like you get to those moments, those glimpses of like who the person is behind this exterior, it's just so good. It's so scrumptious.
Get to that soft nougaty center.
Exactly, yeah.
So Elara has also gone through so many iterations. She was gonna be a monk. When we did the auditions, I ran her as a monk, and it never felt right, and I couldn't figure it out, and I was getting really stressed out about it. And I had never looked at Artificer. Like, I was pretty new to D&D in general, even when we started the podcast. So I had kind of known like mostly about like the base classes. And when I started looking up the Artificer stuff, it was just like everything just went like ding, 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 ding. It just fell into place, and her whole kind of story changed from what I had originally envisioned. And she's like perfect now, I think. But the Elara, this is like one of my favorite stories to tell. When I first started playing video games and I first started playing RPGs, and the first time I ever got to play an RPG where I could like make a feminine presenting character, I named her Elara, and she had red hair and she had green eyes, and it was really exciting because it was like the first time that I felt like like women were being like represented in video games, because up until then I had always had to play the male protagonist in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And then every RPG that I ever made, I just kept remaking Elara. So she has been in every every video game where I've had like an option to make a character from scratch. It's some version of Elara. So she's been with me for like a really long time. Obviously much different than the version I played in the video games. But so when I was thinking about like who I was going to play for this podcast, and this thing is so special to me in general, I was like, I'm going to play this character who is like also really special to me. So yes, that's my answer.
I love that.
Yeah.
Elara is baby, and I maintain that.
We protect.
We do.
protect.
Elara has scary dog privileges. We talk about this all the time.
It does, for
yeah.
real.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god. Varys also went through several iterations. So first they were a blood hunter, which is kind of funny that you say that Ivy was. They also were a rogue, and then I believe they went to monk at the end there for a bit. I always had I started with a really tragic backstory, and then couldn't fit in a class to suit it that fit it perfectly. So I had to figure out which one he would choose in the end. And then I settled on barbarian eventually. His first iteration, the very, very first, he was a very sassy, non-binary, bitchy prostitute who just really didn't fucking trust anyone and wanted nothing to do with people that got roped into other work because of a debt he owed. So he's very different now.
Quite.
So different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We played with him as a rogue, I think, right?
Yeah,
In that one that we ran, yeah.
Yeah, he was a rogue in that one. I think the untrusting portion is the only thing that really stayed the same.
Was there anything that you found in this creation process that you loved but you weren't able to incorporate?
No, I think that in the end what we ended up working out, and I can't say too much because it'll give a lot away. What we ended up working out and suited him the best is a lot of homebrew in his subclass for the barbarian one, and even with his other stuff that he's got going on, there's a lot of homebrew. But I think we made it work, and I can't wait for you all to hear about it.
Yeah,
I'm excited. So one thing that I find happens a lot. I don't know if it's just a me thing, because I can never be consistent to save my life. Is there a difference between how they were intended at creation versus how they ended up being once you played? Like, I guess, for example,
Oh yeah.
yes. Okay, so you guys get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They come to life, I think, right? I think when we started, or I won't speak for everyone else, but like when I started, I had an idea about what Elara was going to be. She is very much still who I thought she was going to be, but the little quirks about her personality, or things that like I hadn't really thought about until I was like in the moment, and I was like, oh my goodness, I had never considered how she might react in this kind of situation. And I'm still discovering new things about her. And it's really cool.
The liar thing, right? That
Yeah. Well,
or
that
the
was like episode 1.
yeah.
She was never like, so like she was, I didn't plan for her to be a liar. Not that she's like a huge liar, but like she'll lie to strangers. She's bad at it, and then when she gets caught, she tells the truth, but like she has no qualms about just being like, "Oh yeah, I'm my name's Jennifer and I work in this mine." You know, but that just was like he asked her name and she was like, I'm not giving, mind you, now her nickname is Elara Full Government Spindlespark because all she does is give her full government name when anyone asks her. So it's so funny.
Yep.
Well, because she knew she was in trouble in the mines, so she couldn't give her a real name, you know.
Just establish that alias
Yes.
right away.
Yeah, Ivy surprised me episode 1. And the thing I think that surprised me most about episode 1, and I always say this, is the phrase Ivy walks away. Did not realize she was just the type of person that when she was done with a conversation would just see ya. And it's like a staple of her personality now. And I'd also intended her to not be as willing to trust people, I think. And she doesn't trust people, right? But I think I meant more so her party members. I had expected her to not. I'd expected her to take longer, I think. To trust, to like express feelings, I guess, for these party members. And then when she was like kind of quick off the bat, she was like, "No, you're never I'm never leaving you." I had to take a look at that, and I was like, "Well, it does make sense with her background." And then I think the biggest change has been her wild shape. Something is in development right now that you can kind of see with the wild shape that grew and morphed over the times we were playing, and the more I got to play the wild shape and the more I thought about it, that's actually, it's really, really cool. I'm really excited for people to hear about it.
Same.
Oh, I'm pumped for that. I think for Varys, geez, this is difficult. One thing I didn't expect for them was for them to be so like able to give advice on things. I think in my brain, I never envisioned Varys as somebody who could go over and if you were having a panic attack, they could help talk you out of it. That wasn't a vision I had for that character. So it was kind of interesting to feel that like that compulsion come alive. Also, I didn't expect him to be the first to react to somebody else being hurt either.
Which
That's
is like a
interesting, 'cause
staple. Yeah.
I was gonna say that's like a core Varys thing.
Yeah, that was not the original plan for them. The original plan was they were going to be cold and uncaring and just stand aside and watch and react after assessing the scenario. And then I realized, no, he wouldn't do that because he's in hiding right now and he's trying to course correct his behavior. So he's going to overcorrect. So his actions made sense.
I also think that when I think about it and hearing the two of you kind of say that, it also comes to like filling a role, I think, that maybe is lacking in like a friend group, right? So like maybe typically if Ivy, if you were around if Ivy was around people who were more clingy or more quick to trust, she might be the standoffish one. But between the three of them, right? Ivy, Elara, and Varys, Ivy is the most. Ivy's the one I think who is like was first to be like, hey, we're staying together. Like, we care about each other. Everybody get it through your thick skulls, because the other party members were not like doing that. And then the same thing with Varys being able to like comfort people. Elara in a group, Elara and Ivy are not the go-tos for that. If they're left to their own devices, they will, you know, be like, all right, I guess I have to figure out how to make you feel better now. And so I think it's interesting that, you know, how we all have kind of stepped into these roles just to fill the, I say the party needs, but like the friendship group needs. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of rolls into the next question, actually.
Look at that segue.
Which is, talking about how your character changed after they went from being solo to working with a group. And you've already touched on how, you thought that they were going to be this, and then, Varys. What I've gleaned from listening to the podcast is that Varys was very different before, and you said he's overcorrecting as well. So I imagine Varys before the Unusual Order was very different from Varys in the Unusual Order, just like as an example. So what are some of the things that you planned about them sort of changing, and then the things that kind of came up naturally?
I think, like I said, the going and throwing himself, being the first to respond to help complete strangers, I didn't expect to be a thing. That definitely changed. As time went on, as time has gone on with the group, I think that they've become a lot more open. Able to razz with Ivy now, joke around with the two of them, even like comfortable sleeping in the same bed with the two of them, which before that would never happen. Varys actually doesn't like to be touched by people he doesn't know unless he gives permission. So that was an interesting change. And geez, I think just like the willingness to talk about things with anyone, not keep everything to themselves, and actually share responsibilities with people in the group, not just to be the one to do everything by themselves. I also didn't expect them to take on this sort of like minor mentor-ish role with them, but he ended up doing that too. So
I think it's nice.
oh, thanks. I like that he's kind of become a caregiver in a sense.
I personally, I enjoy like the caregiver trope in a party dynamic, and I think it's really cool when the one that you kind of figured might have started out as like the cold, aloof one ends up being the caregiver of the group. That's kind of a transformation trope that like melts my heart a little bit.
Me too, honestly. I'm a sucker for it.
I think they're all in a place now where they are comfortable taking care of each other and like picking up the slack when one is down for whatever reason, like not down like combat wise, but just like down in other aspects. And like we joke even about how like, I mean, this won't come out and it's not a spoiler or anything, like it won't come out till much later, but like there was a conversation that was like, Elara was like, I have to be the serious one. And Varys was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, no, it's fine. We share the responsibility of like who has to be the person in charge sometimes, while the other two are just kind of being like silly geese or something. I don't know.
We pass around the children leash.
Yes. And I think it's been really fun for us to be able to do that. Because everybody gets to explore different like sides of their, because like the serious person is not serious all the time, and the silly person is not silly all the time, and the snotty person is not snotty all the time. Everybody kind of, and like Elara could be, we've seen that Elara could be snotty too.
Oh my god, yeah.
So
I feel like sometimes she could be worse than Ivy.
Yeah, cool, because Elara's kind of like can be petulant sometimes. But Elara hasn't. I forgot what your original question was because I went on a tangent, so I apologize. But I think this was my answer to it, so I'm just gonna roll with it.
You're good.
Elara, I don't know. This probably isn't like super apparent, because she doesn't really talk much about herself. But this is the first time that like she's in a group that wants to work cooperatively with her. She's used to working by herself, and she's used to doing things that are different than what other people want her to do. And so she's used to just doing things on her own and figuring it out. And she's super excitable, and her interests kind of can jump from one thing to another. And so she has a lot of unfinished things going on all the time. And this is the first time I think that really she's had a group of friends that are interested in the things that she's doing, like, and like are supportive and not like judgy or not like, oh, you should do it this way. So like all of this is a very new experience for her, like all around from any angle that you look at it. So it's been really fun to, I don't know, to have her be experiencing all these new things while also fighting for her life like every single day.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of where we're at this point. But yeah.
You say fighting for your life, we call it a vibe check from the gods. But hey,
Yeah.
who's asking?
So I fully expected Ivy to be okay with ending this journey alone. She grew up pretty much, not grew up, but she spent a good chunk of her life after Beatrice alone, like fully alone. And now I don't think that's possible for her. I don't think that she could ever go back to the way it was before. I think it would genuinely kill her. So that was a really interesting thing to realize. And I don't know specifically when both she and I realized that. She realized it a little bit later than I did. Just because that's the way the story works, you know. But there genuinely was a moment, and I bet honestly listeners could probably pick it up better than I did. That she just realized that there was no going back. There was absolutely nothing else for her other than these people.
Aww.
I feel like I just got stabbed in the stomach. I'm so sick right now that you said that, because Ivy's gonna live for fucking ever.
I know.
I'm so sad.
That is also something I've had a lot of feelings about too.
Yeah.
It makes me nauseous.
So I don't know if this is like, is this like Fae lore or is this ours? Because I'm not sure. But in our story, lots of Fae creatures don't really have a term date for why I said it like that. They don't have a term date for their lives.
Term date.
Yeah. But like Eladrin
Expiration
elves
date.
can live for like ever, right? So in the Feywild,
this is specifically a court thing.
Okay.
So the courts, because of the way they're situated, which is two people from each class hold a seat at the court, and they help Titania make decisions, make rules, that kind of stuff. So in order to keep things as succinct as possible, people who are on the court live forever unless stated otherwise.
See, I learned something about our lore today. Yeah. Well, so they can die, like they can be like killed.
They can be killed,
But
but there's not a natural
nothing-
expiration date for these people.
And we have like in our. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Oh no, I was just going to say. I mean, specifically, what we're talking about with Ivy is quartz, but also Druid's everlasting body.
Oh my god!
the
Yes,
timeless body.
I forgot about that.
Oh my
Holy
god!
crap!
So it's double tragic.
So she's got like a double, a double.
She's
whammy.
got a double life sentence, I guess.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. Oh no, my heart.
Yeah. Although good news, half elves live a lot longer in our world than they do in D&D. So Elara will be there for some of it.
Some of it.
So do changelings. So Verus will be here too for a while.
I don't know. I'm trying to be positive about it.
All right, so coming up on the last one for the players, what advice would you give your character?
Stop being a little bitch. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, Verus makes me very angry sometimes.
Yeah, Elara. Oh my god, what advice? Elara, you're freaking awesome, and you should believe in yourself a little bit more because you do really, really cool things. That's my advice for her. I just want to hug her.
No notes. Ivy's perfect.
Blew up my mic. That's how much that hit me.
Sorry.
No. I no, but it's so funny because Ivy is she's just so fucking funny, man. She just does things. She's just existing. I think my advice to her would be to not be so hung up on your past. And I can't say that. It's a spoiler.
Spoilers.
Yeah, don't be hung up on your past so much.
Oh. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Is Wayra maintaining the don't be a little bitch?
Oh, I think I'm gonna add to it.
Expand.
I'm gonna maybe expand. I think I would tell them that, you know, he is not his past. People can change. And he needs to stop being so closed off all the time. He needs to give people a chance to see who he really is and, you know, give them the opportunity to accept him for who he wants to be, who he should have been. So instead of just assuming that everyone is going to find out, take a look at them and disregard them as what he used to be. Leave him in the past.
Aww.
Is it weird to say that was beautiful?
Oh.
Awesome.
I also think I would say he's not his trauma.
Yes. Snaps.
Yes.
Now it is time to transition from talking to the players to talking to the characters.
Sure.
These questions are not quite as, like brain inducing as.
Hey, our characters are smart, okay?
I mean, we can be. For sure.
Speak for yourself.
Oh no, they're here.
So I know that because you guys have this podcast, we know the answer to this one, essentially, but I want to hear it from the characters' mouths, from their perspectives. What got you into adventuring or made you want to be an adventurer?
The first time or the second?
Well, I actually didn't want to even be an adventurer, so I literally kind of just met these people and then I got just sucked into this whole thing, and now I'm in the Feywild, and there is absolutely a hag who talks to me in my head more often than I would like, and I would like to just go home and like go back to, like normal stuff and not have to deal with all of this. And I know I say it all the time, but Ivy, the Feywild really sucks and I hate it.
Honestly, I was just trying to find a wizard on top of a mountain. To go on a quest, I guess. My father told me about a quest that apparently everybody in his family goes on. And there was no wizard on top of a mountain. There was just a older gentleman who was not very nice to me. And Elara, we are going to go to your symposium.
Don't forget about the waterfall. We also now need to
And
explore.
Elara's waterfall, of course.
Guys, I think that's a spoiler, so
Oh, what's the
I can cut
spoiler?
that part out.
I think it'll be out by the time this comes out. It's okay.
The first time was to get away from, my home. The second time, I was dragged.
I don't think that we were I mean, we weren't, well, I guess we kind of were not dragged, but like
Oh no, I was by Ivy.
you were dragged. How? When?
Come along,
What?
Varys. Are you coming with us
Oh.
to
Oh, the fair. I was
The
thinking about the
fucking fair.
Fae. Yes. Okay.
I mean, you could have said no.
I had to deliver a letter anyway, so
Right, a sopping wet love letter.
ugh, don't remind
Imagine how
me.
boring your life would be if you stayed in that tavern, though.
I mean, true.
Exactly.
But it would have been comfortable, at least.
Would it have been?
No, I'm completely lying. I actually quite enjoy
There was
the
but
Feywild, so-
there was a portal to the Nine Hells in the mountain of that, like right by where that tavern was. So really,
You would have had to deal with it eventually.
mm-hmm.
You just
And
would have
we
only
might-
had
Yeah.
you would have
we
only
wouldn't
had
have been there.
yourself.
How do you guys feel about your current quest? Elara has made it very clear that she hates the Feywild.
Mm-hmm.
But about the mission that you're on itself, what does that mean to you guys?
Honestly, which part are you talking about? Are you talking about the Tharaz part, or are you talking about the portals? Because the portals are kind of like in the background right now.
Yesterday's news. Yeah, we're not concerned about that anymore.
Are you sure? Because I really think we should be getting
Yeah, I mean, I think
that
that
sample.
Mm-hmm. We haven't even
We'll get
seen
it for the president at some point.
Mhm.
No. Ivy, please.
But to your point, Tharaz, I think it's a colossal waste of time. I think I am just fine with my wild shape. I don't think this is an issue.
I don't know if you know this, but when Ivy says the word "fine" so many times, her voice like gets higher and higher and higher every time. And I have learned that means that she is lying and being sarcastic and not telling a whole truth, because people's voices don't usually get that high when they actually are fine. So,
Well, I enjoy this mission, to be honest. You do need the help, Ivy,
mhm,
and we're here for you to do it.
mhm.
However, I enjoy the Feywild much more than I do Memphis. I feel safer here, to be honest.
I mean, Stillwater is nice. I will say that.
Beautiful.
Stillwater sounds really nice.
It's like a vacation.
It is nice.
It is.
So, since you guys are doing this all together, this might be an interesting question, but how do you feel about the other members of your party?
Awful.
Very funny.
Horrific choice, really, of company.
I thought you're not allowed
You could
to
always
lie.
walk away, Sugar Bear.
Oh,
So, if it's so awful, then what keeps you with them?
Mhm.
That's a good question.
That means they're not going to answer.
I jest, of course. I do quite enjoy my group. Even though one in particular enjoys rousing the shit out of me, and the other one,
Yeah,
Not me.
Laura.
No. Not me.
You're right, it's Norman.
It kind of is sometimes, though, actually. Norman skitters out from Elara's hood, and you see this mechanized spider just chilling on her shoulder.
Barry just shakes her head.
Mm-hmm.
We stand Norman.
Yes.
We do stand Norman.
Totally.
Unless they're caressing your face.
But good things generally happen when Norman caresses your
Yeah.
face. So, like...
It's like a little bit of, like, extra D4 or something like that,
It's
you know?
like a
What is a
reward.
D4?
It's a pointy thing you step on sometimes when you drop them on the floor and forget, and then it hurts your foot.
Like a ball bearing? Like the ones
Kind
you
of.
chucked at Vassell?
Like a caltrop?
Yes. Yeah, no, ball bearings are balls, Varys. They're not pointy.
Exactly.
Touché.
I do really like my party members. I don't know how much they like me, but
We adore
do.
you. What do you mean?
I think she just wanted to hear
it. You know, Elara is generally one of the smartest people I have ever met in my entire life. And it is really so cool to see the things that she comes up with. Norman is very, very cool. And then her uncanny dog is very cool as well. Pearl. I don't know why, for God's sake, I forgot what Pearl's name was. I'm not used to being interviewed. And then...
I know.
And then Varys, who is basically like my brother at this point. He's very fun to Raz. Very fun to Raz. And he's also very smart, of course.
I'm so glad that I am an easy target for you.
As you know, you're an easy target. You don't help yourself. But yes, voice in the sky, to what you were saying. It is very much like a sibling dynamic. Elara.
Yeah, sorry. What? I don't know what came over me.
How do you feel about us?
Oh, I think that you're both really great. And
wow,
I
so
like
enthused.
I think that I like having a good friendship with you both. It's been really fun and interesting and not complicated at all. And I'm totally cool with like getting close to people. It's it's like something I do all the time. So, it's just like any other day for me. Except, you guys are kind of like my best friends now. So, thanks.
That is very gratifying to hear.
So, from you guys, what is your biggest, fear or hope or motivator?
I'm bold of you to assume I have any fears.
How dare you ask us to be introspective?
My biggest fear is the lake and losing Elara and Varys. My biggest motivator is I'm very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I don't. Something, vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. We love talking about our feelings here. Super.
Oh yeah,
open
that's why
about
there's so much content of it.
Mm-hmm. I think that my biggest fear, well, honestly, I didn't really think that I didn't never really thought much about my fears until I got to the Fae. And I think that one of my I think one of my fears, honestly, like if I'm going to be like really deep and open and honest about it, it probably is having something to do with like being forgotten because it seems to plague my nightmares a lot. So that's interesting and something that I'm absolutely avoiding thinking or talking about. So thank you for bringing it up. And my biggest
You're
motivator, like in my life or just like in now, like just like
up to you.
Oh God. My biggest motivator. Well, I guess my biggest. I I'm really into right now helping Ivy get through this whole thing with the Raz so that we can go get Bia and then getting I'm not going to say a bad word, but I really want to.
Oh, come on.
Getting out of the Fae. Nope, not going to do
Not
it.
even one.
No, I only curse Varys when you don't listen and you go down in fights.
Listen,
and then,
all right.
yeah.
Let's move on.
You want to talk about? We can talk about
No,
that if you want.
we can talk about
We
the
can maybe talk
self-sacrificing
about-
bit.
yeah.
We don't need to talk about
Is that like your biggest motivator,
So
like
my biggest
self-sacrificing,
fear-
or
My biggest fear would be that my past catches up and hurts Ivy or Elara, or comes to get me. My motivation right now.
A new poet shirt.
Oh, absolutely. Style's everything. No, my biggest motivation is assisting Ivy on her quest currently. And then getting Elara to her symposium.
The symposium.
we don't have to worry about that. It's fine, you know. If it gets here, it gets here. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
So, what is from what we in the outside world know of your adventures, what is your proudest moment so far?
I am most proud of escaping. Starting a
Okay.
new life. I'm most proud of that.
I love that.
Thank you, voice in the sky.
I think I am the most proud of actually making friends.
I love that too.
Varys picks you up and gives you a big old squeeze.
Her legs dangle.
Kind of, I think, hinging off of Ivy. I think that I am most proud of letting people in and being vulnerable, because that's hard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. Here's a harder one.
Oh
I will
God.
say. And again, you can give as much or as little as you want because I know this could get into spoiler territory. If you could change anything at all and have it stick, what would it be?
Oh, like a wish spell of sorts?
Yeah, like a wish spell.
Hmm.
Interesting. I think that if I could change one thing and have one thing stick, it would probably be that when Varys remembered that he knew who I was, that he would have just told me as soon as he remembered it.
Excuse me, I'm just going to leave.
Wow.
Ivy grabs the back of your shirt and brings you back.
No, please.
Ivy's the only one
It's
that hasn't
okay.
walked away yet.
We don't have to talk about it. I just, there was a question asked, and I am trying to be honest and direct, and that's what I did. So that's my answer.
Is this floor melt into a ball? Can I disappear?
What
Who's
about you,
next?
Varys? What would you change?
The thing that I would like to change the most is not revealed yet, so I would like to remove a very particular group from existence. Just wipe the slate clean before they ever existed.
Understandable.
There's something interesting about this question and the connotations of it. There are a lot of things that I would like to change and have stick. But at the same time, if those things did stick, if they weren't the way that they were, I don't know if I would have ever had to go to Minthus. And if I never went to Minthus, there is probably no way in hell I would have met these two. So, of course, objectively, my answer is that Beatrice didn't die. But at the same time, I think I would be worse off without these two in my life. So,
Aw.
Snaps.
Would you though?
No, yeah, she
Oh.
would be. Mhm.
100%.
I think so. No offense, but
What would you do if you weren't an adventurer?
I still don't really consider myself an adventurer.
Are we
But
on an
now
adventure?
well, I guess now that I kind of am an adventurer, I am adventuring. It has really opened up my worldview. And being in the Feywild, right? I didn't know that like places and things like this even existed. So everything that I was doing before kind of feels very mundane now. So maybe I would just now I actually would be in it like an adventurer, like a real adventurer who like adventures and does adventuring things. Also still science stuff. Lots of it. On the side. Maybe. Yes, probably.
I would be very boring. I would be a political figurehead.
Ew.
Boo.
There is absolutely no universe in which I would be an adventurer on my own.
I don't know what I would do, to be honest. Most of the professions that I could go into involve essentially adventuring anyway. Maybe a researcher. If you say what I think you're going to say, you can shove it up your ass. No.
No.
What were you going to say, Ivy? Please, indulge us.
I was going to say, adventuring with your body.
Wow.
That was along the lines of what I was going for. Thank you very much for saying what I was trying to allude to in context. Subtext, even. But
You're welcome.
Oh, it went completely over my head, so thank you for
yeah.
You
making
you
it
can't
clear.
spell
So-
subtext without butt sex, so
For the love of God.
Oh,
I would be likely an assassin, a politician, a sex worker, or I don't know. I would maybe be, if it wasn't a violent profession, probably a pianist.
Aw,
Aw.
I love that. Favorite color?
Green.
blue.
Pink for sure.
Alrighty. Favorite animal?
Oh.
Why did I immediately think the animal I hate the most?
Is that just how you roll, Vez?
It's hard to pick favorites. Except colors. I guess dogs probably, because I love Pearl so much. But I also like baby owl bears. And frogs.
My favorite animal is a pseudo dragon.
Is that really considered an animal?
What else would it be?
Ignoring the classifications of animals, probably either a cat of some sort or a snake.
Nice. What's a power that you wish you had?
Speak with animals.
Flight.
I can't think of one that I don't already have.
It's a little humble brag there.
The power to not destroy every single shirt you put on your body.
Oh, yes.
Or
no, I do have
armrest
that.
of chairs. What about those?
That too.
Cough, cough.
I think I would like the ability to resist charm effects. Or
That's a
to
good
never
one.
need to
Working on
sleep.
it. We're working on it. It's fine.
Are we?
We will be.
Ish.
I would really,
Yes.
really like to never have that experience again.
It's very high on the priority list, so.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right after the
Right
murder
under
of a-
buy more poet shirts for Vez.
No, it's right under murder veritas.
Yes, but like in downtime when we're not murdering Veritas, you know?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Duck-sized horses for sure.
Why?
No, horse. This is a difficult question.
It has to be a horse-sized duck.
Neither, because I don't like hurting animals if I can help it.
They're mechanized.
Then I think a duck-sized horse, right? Because they can overwhelm you if there's so many of them.
True.
Exactly.
But more fun.
And they could kick your shins, you know? If they're duck-sized.
You know?
I think it's more like body slamming.
Oh, but
I
do you
don't know
think- Do you think that like a duck-sized horse? No, a horse-sized duck? Which one is it?
it's a horse-sized duck.
Could like
Horse-sized
swallow.
duck,
It could swallow us, can it?
Oh, yes.
Well,
and
you know
do have
about being
an issue with
swallowed.
things
I know.
swallowing
I'm
you,
not.
so-
I know. That's why I was gonna say. I think I'd pick the little ones. Yeah.
I would pick the duck-sized horse because there's only one of them,
Mhm.
and if you
That
tame
can
it, you can
swallow
ride
you.
it.
That's true. That's true. Well, if I had speak with animals, then I could just speak to it and be like, "Hey, friend, don't hurt us. We are totally nice and cool." And then I'd be like, "Ivy, really has always wanted to ride a horse-sized duck, or a duck-sized horse, or whatever, because I can't keep it straight in my brain." So
You know, I changed my answer and prefer the horse-sized duck.
Good to know.
Imagine the splatter. Sorry.
Oh.
Laura shakes her head.
Last question for you guys, and thank you so much for being here with me tonight.
Of course.
What advice would you give your player?
Roll better on my death saves, for the love of God. And
Oh
my
my
wisdom
God.
saves.
On your wisdom saves, you mean?
My wisdom saves would be preferable.
Roll better. Please. Help a girl out. Oh my goodness. It's painful. Yeah. That's it.
No, she's perfect.
It's almost like you two are the same person.
It's so strange.
No flaws whatsoever.
I know.
Dusty's like, it's so fun playing Ivy because I just get to be a snotty little witch all the time. We see you, Dusty. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Laura, you take...
Are you kidding me?
3d10
We would be so
damage.
dead right now if we were actually
So much
doing
psychic
damage
damage.
for this. Who's our players, huh?
I have no idea.
Yeah, well, you answered first, so you take the damage then. Exactly.
Well, fuck me, I guess.
My advice would be to not give in to all of the wackadoodle shit you think of. And
Now I want to play Dungeons and Dragons and be Elara for a little longer.
I know. I also want to be Elara.
Do you? It's very interesting inside her brain.
Thank you so much to our debut guests from the Rainbow Dice Club podcast. And thank you so much for listening, everybody. If you want to support Professional Questers, you can find us on Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/profeshquesters. That's PROFESH Questers. You can also follow us on Twitter at ProfeshQuesters and on Instagram at Professional Questers. And join our Discord at the link in the description. I will also put links to the Rainbow Dice Club stuff as well. And you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope your adventures are always good ones. Everybody say bye!
Bye! Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. I almost went to hit stop recording.
And stop recording.